Iran's very existence is a threat to the global order. Roughly half of all maritime global oil shipments originate in the Persian Gulf and transit the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran borders the northern entirety of the Persian Gulf coast as well as the strait itself. The US uses easy energy access to guarantee global trade, and global trade to guarantee its security alliance. Should Iran be able to intercept even briefly shipments out of the Persian Gulf, the entire global structure would break down.
Doesn't sound too good. And the man himself, Peter Zeihan, geopolitical strategist and founder of Zeihan on Geopolitics, and author of a great new book, and there it is up on your screen, folks, The Accidental Superpower, the next generation of American preeminence and the coming global disorder. Well, welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Good to see you. All right, so let's start with Iran for a second.
Of course.
If they get what they want, and they have the capability to create nuclear weapons, does your whole book, does the whole premise go out the window?
Actually, I would turn that question on its head. Iran is already the military superpower of the region. The only country in the world that can potentially hold them back is the United States. And they know that if they cross the nuclear red line, other countries are going to get involved, with Israel simply being the most obvious. The fun part comes because of U.S. shale. Because we're now within 2 million barrels per day of oil independence in North America, which means that very soon what happens in the Persian Gulf we can look at from a completely different perspective. And then Iran goes from having all the leverage to having none.
But how are they the biggest military power? I mean, what do you know that isn't out there? I mean, obviously, they have conventional weapons and rockets, and they arm Hezbollah and other terrorist groups. They just overthrew Yemen. So maybe I'm answering my own question. But if they were to get a nuke, I mean, would they not? They would threaten us.
Not really. They don't have the range. It's one thing to detonate an atomic object. We've obviously did that back in the 1940s. But then shrinking it down, ruggedizing it, getting onto a weapon system that can go halfway around the world, that's a whole other field of technology that they are not very good at. So if you are going to see serious progress in the nuclear program, you would have seen that 10 years ago under the old government. I don't mean to suggest that Iran doesn't have teeth. I don't mean to suggest that they are not a threat to the countries in the area. What I'm saying is that because of the way the United States' economy has changed, they're no longer an economic or military threat to us anymore, and that provides us with some amazing opportunities.
Right, well, I believe all they got to do, if they don't have it already, is get those intercontinental ballistic missiles, which I don't think is too hard to do, and they would use it against us because their imams, their ayatollahs believe in the missing imam coming back, and he only comes back through Armageddon, so you won't have mutually assured destruction like you had with the Soviet Union as a deterrent, and their Armageddon brings them all to heaven.
Something to keep in mind about the imams, all of them are businessmen.
Well,
there's a big difference between rhetoric and reality.
All right, let's agree to disagree on that. China. We hear so much about the fact that China has overtaken America as the world's greatest economy. I mean, you see that all the time.
Of course.
You say they never will.
This is not the kind of thing I worry about. Let's assume for the moment that all the hype about their economy is true, which it's not. Look at a map. There's that line of islands, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore. All of them U.S. allies, all of them have cruise missiles. They can shut China off from the international system in a matter of days without the 7th Fleet getting involved. God forbid the 7th Fleet gets involved. This is a country that is a coastal land power that has never had a military profile that is able to project. Geography just traps them.
Well, okay, geography traps them, yet if they become aggressive, and their theory is, so what if we lose 2 million as long as we kill 5 million? If they become aggressive, if their economy collapses, if much of their money is spent on military and build up of their navy and other assets, and maybe team with Russia, who we haven't talked about yet. And we've read, just NORAD is saying that Russian bomber jets are becoming more and more aggressive and intruding into U.S. airspace. God knows what's going on underwater with the submarines. I wouldn't put anything past China or Russia. So,
well, go ahead. Let's finish up with the Chinese first. Where do you go? You can't go out by water. So your options are invade Siberia. Well, the Russians have flat out said they'll nuke them. You could invade Vietnam again. The last time they tried that, it was a disaster. Or India, go over the Himalayas, they're trapped. One of the great mysteries of China isn't how it's survived all these years, it's how it's managed to control this one swath of coast. They just can't get out. And that's the case for 5,000 years now.
And so you're pretty confident in that, and I think what's fascinating about your book is the you focus on the energy independence as a key to of almost us stumbling into our security in remaining the superpower for decades to come, the accidental superpower.
And the impact of that independence is only now starting to be felt. For most of the last 60 years, we guaranteed the sea lanes and energy access in order to power global trade. We no longer have an interest in that anymore. And that's a problem for countries that import energy like China.
All right, folks, it's all here. It's a fascinating read and a fascinating outlook for the future of our country and the geopolitical landscape. And it's the Accidental Superpower. And Peter Zeihan, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in, sir. All right, folks, we are coming back with lots more of the Steve Malzberg Show. So keep it where it is, right here, only on Newsmax Television.